Yeah. So that is very important for us to appreciate that as long as we are focused in the sadhana process, which means Krishna is centered, our life is centered around Krishna, that is our sadhana. As long as we have Krishna there all the time, then we are all safe. But as soon as we forget Krishna, and then we are in trouble, Smartavya satata vishmartavya na jatu state, right? We should always make sure our life, it doesn't matter, maybe you may forget when you're discussing something important even in your life, but you should, whenever you can, you should think, what would Krishna say? What would Srila Prabhupada say? What would my Guru Maharaj say? So then you're centering yourself back to being Krishna conscious. And that centering is very important. It should be a life process on a daily basis. You should see how much you can center yourself. And then if it becomes very normal in your life, then without even answering, you'll first try to think what Krishna or Guru will say. So then your life is always centered with Krishna. And in that case, there cannot be any Maya. Maya cannot come in that case. Yeah. So that is important for us also to appreciate. Because on our own, you cannot overcome the material energy. Very powerful energy. Actually, realistically, we cannot get out of this material world. It's not possible. It is by the mercy of the Lord through the devotees, we get the opportunity to get out of this Brahmanda. This Brahmanda is covered by 8 layers of these elements. So what chance? You can take Prabhupada says Sputnik and go out, and you cannot go through those things. So you should understand this is not easy, but we are very fortunate. So Prabhupada also in the end of the purport, he says the word swapnavad is significant in this connection. Because in the material world, the mind is absorbed in materialistic activities. When one is asleep, many contradictory activities appear in one's dreams. When one awakens, however, these activities automatically merge into the mind. Similarly, as long as one is under the influence of material energy, he makes many plans and schemes. But when one is Krishna conscious, such dreamlike plans automatically disappear, right? We are thinking, oh, I'll have to do this, I'll have to do that for my material life. But once you become Krishna conscious, many of your plans that you were thinking is put on hold or thrown out of the window, right? Right? Don't throw the baby out with the water, they say. But in this case, we throw everything out. Right? We're not interested in those things anymore. Actually, all of you know yourself, right? As I mentioned oftentimes that every day you ask yourself, right? And you should ask yourself, where am I heading, Will I go back to Godhead in this life at the time of death? The more you ask yourself, you shouldn't get depressed, but rather you should say, I have to work harder. Yeah. Our process is to make you joyful in the understanding that I can achieve this, right? Susukam kartum avyayam. So therefore, the activities you do, you should become very enthused. So you should look for people who are also enthusiastic in devotional service. That will be an impetus for you to also maintain or sustain your devotional service. But if you hang around with people who don't have such desire, then you will also slowly lose that desire to go back to Godhead, because they'll say something negative and you'll say, yeah, that is true, and then you actually truly will become depressed. But Krishna conscious activity should take you off from all those things, because you have a fantastic goal that is achievable, that will, you can just say, to hell with all this, I'm getting out. Right? That realization should manifest in your heart. I don't want to come back and take birth and go through all this again, every few months, jump from one job to another, or one marriage to another, or one house to another, or whatever, right? We go through. Every single one of us are going through. So we should understand it should be like a dream. Material activities are like a dream, according to Prabhupada. So when you wake up, oh, it's a bad dream, I don't want to think about it. So similarly, your material life should be like that. I'm not, I'm just doing it so that I can pay the bills and so on. But my goal is to please Guru and Krishna, to get out. So that should be the focus. Text 18. Tat prasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvartinaha Abhavam yogina sarve Narayana parayanaha. All those who followed the principles of King Rantideva were totally favored by his mercy and became pure devotees, attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Thus, they all became the best of yogis. Now, just as Rantidev, we should immediately understand when we read this that we should all follow Srila Prabhupada. 100%, because he is a pure devotee who is actually distributing his mercy constantly. He is our preeminent Acharya, Shiksha Guru also for each and every one. So when we understand that very nicely, we can become pure devotees. Why? We will adopt his mood and vision in life. Otherwise, we have our own mood and our own mission and plans. And then you find your plans are because it's contaminated by the material energy and desires, you are always suffering. But whatever Prabhupada was doing in any activities you read is Lilamrita, it's always for the concern of the living entities to connect them to Krishna. So just like Rantidev, those who followed him, it says all those who followed. That means there are many who didn't follow also, right? So similarly, are we following Prabhupada? And how much are we following Prabhupada? The more we follow, the more we become attached to Krishna. Sometimes we don't understand why I'm not becoming attached to Krishna, right? You think why I'm doing everything, but because we are not seeing what Prabhupada wants in our life, what changes we should make, how to change, how to balance. Then when we do those balancing and changes to increase our Krishna conscious, then we become the best of yogis. Then yoginam api sarveshu makes sense, right? Because then our focus is, that is our yoga actually, to follow the Acharya's teachings, and then we become the best of yogis. We don't even have to sit in a corner or on your head or whatever you want to do. Nowadays, those yoga is just for the pleasure of the material senses, actually. Mostly that's what people do. They're not trying to connect with Krishna. So then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes very nicely, this is the influence of a pure devotee. If there's one pure devotee, his association can create hundreds and thousands of pure devotees. In the early days, the people would ask, his own devotees asked, Srila Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in the movement? He said, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? That was his answer. Why? Because everyone was preaching and dedicating their life to Krishna conscious. Although one may not be at the stage of pure devotion, but by following the acharyas, you are executing pure devotional service. Yeah. So when you are at that level, then you're also a pure devotee. And it's only a question of time before one gets the full blessings and mercy of the Supreme Person.
So that one is practicing pure devotee, other is perfected.
Perfected pure. Yes, one is practicing. Thank you. All right, and then the second point, Srila Prabhupada in that paragraph, he also makes, is very interesting also. He quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is meritorious in proportion to the number of devotees he has created. Yeah, see how much he can influence, not just, okay, that's very nice, the Prabhu is so wonderful, the Mataji is wonderful, not that. How they affect my life, that I've changed my life to be more Krishna conscious. That's what Prabhupada's point is. So individually, each of you can influence at least one or two group of people in your life. You can. All you have to do is show and set good examples, and then encourage them to chant. And then that's all you need to do. And then the mercy of the Lord is very openly, even Prabhupada becomes very pleased, right? With all of us, actually. A Vaishnava becomes superior not simply by jugglery of words, but by the number of devotees he has created for the Lord. So this is also very important to understand. We are not here to speak high philosophy. That's the point. We are here simply to tell them, hey, you got an opportunity, chant and go back to God here. That's all we are saying, or give Prabhupada's books, because whatever I can say is not as good as what Prabhupada has said. So you please read this. Yeah. Obviously, there may be questions and so on, and that's where your ability to present may be important. But otherwise, we have to see, how many people can you convince to take up chanting seriously, and taking initiation and so on. Here, the word Ranti Devanuvartinaha indicates that Ranti Deva's officers, friends, relatives, and subjects all became first-class Vaishnavas by his association. Very powerful. Very powerful. So similarly, don't get disappointed if only one or two people follow your instruction. It's okay. But what you should understand is they have taken up Krishna consciousness. That is so wonderful. That's the main point. And then Prabhupada quotes again Rishabdev's teachings to his sons. One should render service to such Mahatmas. So in your own lives, some devotees are more advanced, go and serve them. For then one will automatically achieve the goal of liberation. Why? Because Krishna becomes pleased with you, that you are serving his devotees. So how do we serve Prabhupada? Go out on Harinam, go out on books, go out on preaching mission, set up centers, connect people to Krishna consciousness, and that's all we have to do. One cannot be liberated by his own effort, Prabhupada says. It's also important. So you cannot stay in your home and think you're going to get the full blessings of Krishna. It's not going to happen. But if one becomes subordinate to a pure Vaishnava, the door to liberation is open. Mahatsevam Dwaram Ahu Vimukta. It opens through the pure devotees. That's the key. Okay. So for us is Srila Prabhupada and his followers. Text 19 and 20. Gargachinnistato gargya Shatrat Brahma hi avartata Duritakshayo Mahavirya Tasya Tayyaruni Kavihi Puskararunir iti atra Ye Brahmana gatim gataha Vihatshatrasya putro bur Dastiya Dastinapuram. From Garga came a son named Shini, and his son was Gargya. Although Gargya was a Kshatriya, there came from him a generation of Brahmanas. From Mahavirya came a son named Duritakshaya, whose sons were Trayaruni, Kavi, and Pushkararuni. Although the sons of Duritakshaya took birth in a dynasty of Kshatriyas, they too attained the position of Brahmanas. Brihatshatra had a son named Hasti, who established the city of Hastinapura, now New Delhi. Text 21. Ajamido dvimidascha Purumidascha Hastinaha Ajamidasya Vamsyasyuhu Priyamedadayo Dvijaha. From King Hasti came three sons named Ajamida, Dvimida, and Purumida. The descendants of Ajamida, headed by Priyameda, all achieved the position of Brahmanas. So, since the last few verses are talking about Kshatriya's descendants becoming Brahmana, Prabhupada wants to make it clear that it's not that you have to take birth as a Brahmana to be a Brahmana. There's a good chance they may be, but not necessarily. So he quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. And then at the end of that paragraph, Prabhupada says the members of the Varnas or social orders Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra must be ascertained by their symptoms, not by birth. Birth is immaterial. Quality is essential. So that's a good sentence to tell people. I'm from Brahmana. You can tell them birth is immaterial. Quality is essential. So please don't talk so much. Text 22. Ajamidat brihadishu tasya putro brihadanuhu brihatkayastatatastasya putra asi jayadradaha. From Ajamida came a son named Brihadishu. From Brihadishu came a son named Brihadanu. From Brihadanu, a son named Brihadkaya. And from Brihadkaya, a son named Jayadratha. Text 23. Tatsuto Vishadastasya Shenaji Samajayata Uchirashvo Dridadhanu Kashyavatsascha Tatsutaha. The son of Jayadratha was Vishada, and his son was Shenajit. The sons of Shenajit were Ruchirashva, Dridaha Hanu, Kashya, and Vatsa. Text 24. Ruchirasva Sutaparaha Ritushena Atmajaha Parasya Tanayo Nipas Kasya Putra Shatam Tu Abur. The son of Ruchirashva was Para, and the sons of Para were Prithusena and Nipa. Nipa had 100 sons. Text 25. Sakrityayam Sukha Kanyayam Brahmadattam Ajijana Yogisa Gavi Bharyayam Visvakshenam Madatsutam. King Nipa begot a son named Brahmadatta through the womb of his wife Prithvi, who was a daughter of Shuka. And Brahmadatta, who was a great yogi, begot a son named Vishvakshena through the womb of his wife Saraswati. This purport is very, I won't say very important, but it's important because it gives you some understanding of the speaker of the Bhagavatam and what transpired between him and his father. The purport. The Shuka mentioned here is different from the Shukadev Goswami who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is described in great detail in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. There it is said that Vyasadeva maintained the daughter of Jabali as his wife, and that after they performed penances together for many years, he placed his seed in her womb. The child remained in the womb of his mother for 12 years. In some places, they say 16. And when the father asked the son to come out, the son replied that he would not come out unless he were completely liberated from the influence of Maya. Vyasadeva then assured the child that he would not be influenced by Maya, but the child did not believe his father, for the father was still attached to his wife and children. Vyasadeva then went to Dwaraka and informed the personality of Godhead about his problem. And the personality of Godhead, at Vyasadeva's request, went to Vyasadeva's cottage, where he assured the child in the womb that he would not be influenced by Maya. The assured child, thus assured, the child came out, but he immediately went away as a Parivrajagacharya. When the father very much aggrieved, well, the word Parivrajagacharya means they are always traveling and preaching, not staying in one place. Okay, when the father very much aggrieved, began to follow his saintly boy, Shukadev Goswami. The boy created a duplicate Shukadev who later entered family life. You can see Shukadev Goswami is so powerful. He expanded and created a duplicate person who's a different person totally. And And this created a duplicate Sukadev who later entered family life. Therefore, the Shuka Kanya or daughter of Shukadev mentioned in this verse is the daughter of the duplicate or imitation Sukadeva. The original Sukadeva was a lifelong brahmachari. Maybe you all haven't read this, but no, right? So now you know a very interesting and important point. Because sometimes you may come across people who have read Bhagavatam or other Puranas and they say he's married. Then you can say the authentic version because it's coming from our Acharya Srila Prabhupada. That yes. Yes.
Sir. So, thought disappeared.
Huh?
The thought disappeared. I wanted to ask something, but it disappeared.
Oh, your thought
Yes,
is disappeared.
Yes. The question I was thinking is, it says, the purport says the father was still attached to his wife and children.
Yes. Yes.
We know so many Puranas instructing us not to be attached. So how to understand that?
He's playing a part of a Grihastha, and Sukadev is playing a part of a renunciant. So he's saying you are attached still. So I don't trust you. So basically in your life, if you know someone is very attached to things and if they are giving you advice, you should be very careful because they may not be coming from the proper platform in helping you. Because you're asking them opinion. So their thoughts and processes may be contaminated with such attachment. Let's say I'm very attached to something and then you are saying, is it good for me to get that or not? And although many places it may be understood those things are not good, but I'm attached to it. Therefore, I will not say this is bad for you. I will say this is good for you. Just like if a new devotee wants to remain a brahmachari or grihastha, and he comes and asks the grihastha, what do you think? Should I marry or not? What do you think the grihastha should tell him? Right? So if the grihastha is envious or doesn't want to help this guy, he'll say, yeah, good for you, marry. Yeah. So in that sense, Sukadeva Goswami said, no, you are still attached, so I'm not going to listen to you, although you're my father. It's interesting and very comical, like that, yeah. Text 26. Jaigi Shavyopadeshena Yogatantram Chakaraha Udakshenastatastasmad Ballato Barhadishavaha. Following the instructions of the great sage Jaigi Shavya, Visvakshena compiled an elaborate description of the mystic yoga system. From Visvakshena, Udakshena was born, and from Udakshena, Ballata. All these sons are known as descendants of Brihadishu. Text 27. Yavinaro dvimitasya Kritimam Satsuta Smitaha Namna Satyadriti Stasya Dridane Mi Suparshvakrit. The son of Dvimida was Yavinara, whose son was Kritiman. The son of Kritiman was well known as Satyadriti. From Satyadriti came a son named Dridhanemi, who became the father of Suparshva. Text 28 to 29. Suparshvat sumatistasya putrasanna timamstataha kirti hiranyana badyo yogam prapya jagosmasad sanghita pratyashamnam vai Nipo hi udra yudastata. Tasya Shemya Suvirota Suvirasya Ripunjaya. From Suparshva came a son named Sumati. From Sumati came Sannatiman. And from Sannatiman came Kriti, who achieved mystic power from Brahma and taught 6 Samhitas of the Pratyasama verses of the Samaveda. The son of Kriti was Nipa. The son of Nipa, Udgrayuda. And the son of Udgrayuda, Shemya. The son of Shemya, Suvira. And the son of Suvira, Ripunjaya. So he's now going with the lineage of that dynasties. Now we are in the Moon dynasty, text 30. Tato bahurato nama purumido prajo bhavat nalinyam vajami dasya nilashantistu tatsutaha. From Ripunjaya came a son named Bahurata. Purumida was sonless. Ajamida had a son named Nila by his wife known as Nalini, and the son of Nila was Shanti. Text 31 to 33. Sante Shushantis Tatputraha Gurujorkas Tato Bhavat Varnyasvastanayastasya Panchasamudgaladayaha Yavinara Brihad Vishvaha Kampilla Sanjaya Sutaha Varnyasva Praha Putra Me Panchanam Rakshanayahi Vishayanam Alami Me Iti Panchala Samnitaha Mudgala Brahma Nirvrittam Gotram Maudgalya Samnitam. The son of Shanti was Sushanti, the son of Sushanti was Puruja, and the son of Puruja was Arka. From Arka came Barmyasva, and from Barmyasva came 5 sons, Mudgala, Yavinara, Brihadvisva, Kampilla, and Sanjaya. Barmyasva prayed to his sons, "O my sons, please take charge of my 5 states, for you are quite competent to do so." Thus his 5 sons were known as Panchalas. From Mudgala came a dynasty of Brahmanas known as Maudgalya. The Panchala, so that's where Panchalya takes birth. Text 34. Mituna Mudgala Brahnya Divodasha Pumanabud Ahalya Kanyaka Yasyam Shatanandastu Gautama. Mudgala, the son of Barnyasva, had twin children, one male and the other female. The male child was named Divodasha, and the female child was named Ahalya. From the womb of Ahalya, by the semen of her husband Gautama, came a son named Shatananda. Text 35. Tasya Satya Driti Putro Dhanurveda Visharadaha Sharatpam Statsuto Yasma Urvashi Darshanat Kila Sarastambe Patadreto Mitunam Dadabutshubam. Translation. Thank you. The son of Shatananda was Satyadriti, who was expert in archery, and the son of Satyadriti was Sharadvan. When Sharadvan met Urvasi, he discharged semen which fell on a clump of Sharagras. From this semen were born two all auspicious babies, one male and the other female. These are like very powerful heavenly people, right? Not in Kali Yuga, ordinary people, huh? Because if it happens, it's just a waste. Yeah. I was thinking, if I would ask you all to name me 10 names from this dynasty, it's already very difficult. Isn't it? Because
Five is good.
five already difficult. Yeah. So many names, and Sukadev is just rattling on. So many names. Text 36. Tatritsva kripaya gritna Shantanu mrigayan charan Kripa kumara kanyacha Drona patni abhavat kripi. So we are getting closer and closer. Translation: While Maharaj Shantanu was on a hunting excursion, he saw the male and female children lying in the forest, and out of compassion, he took them home. Consequently, the male child was known as Kripa, and the female child was named Kripi. Kripi later became the wife of Dronacharya. Of course, nowadays you can't name your daughter Kripi, right? It's not possible. Yeah. Yeah, I know, but you can't name them. People don't understand. Thus end the Bhakti and the purpose of the 9th canto, 21st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasty of Bharata. Now, chapter 22, the descendants of Ajamida. Text 1. Again, a long list. Sri Shuka Vacha Mitrayuscha Divodasaj Chavanas Suto Nirpa Sudasha Sahadevota Somako Jantu Janmakri. Shukadev Goswami said, O king, the son of Divodasa was Mitrayu. And from Mitrayu came 4 sons named Chavana, Sudasa, Sahadeva, and Somaka. Somaka was the father of Jantu. Text 2. Tasya putra shatam tesham yaviyam prishata sutaha sa tasmad rupado jajni Sarvasampa Samanvitaha. Somaka had 100 sons, of whom the youngest was Prishata. From Prishata was born King Drupada, who was opulent in all supremacy. Text 3. Drupada Draupadi Tasya Dristadumna Daya Sutaha Dristadumna Dristaketu Brahmya Panchalaka Brahmya Panchalaka Ime. From Maharaj Drupada, Draupadi was born. Maharaj Drupada also had many sons headed by Dristadumna. From Dristadumna came a son named Dristaketu. All these personalities are known as descendants of Varmyasva or as the dynasty of Panchala. Of course, both Draupadi and Dristadumna are born from a fire sacrifice. Okay, they're not like natural born like all of us. They are special. Texts 4 and 5. Yo jamida suto hi anya Riksha samvaranastataha Tapatyam surya kanyayam Kurukshetra pati kuruhu Parikshi Sudanur Janur Nishadascha Kuru Sutaha Suhotrabo Sudanu Sarsh Chavanota Tata Kriti. Another son of Ajamida was known as Riksha. From Riksha came a son named Samvarana. And from Samvarana, through the womb of his wife Tapati, the daughter of the sun god, came Kuru, the king of Kurukshetra. Kuru had 4 sons, Parikshi, Sudanu, Janu, and Nishada. From Sudanu, Suhotra was born, and from Suhotra, Chavana. From Chavana, Priti was born. Text 6. Vasustasya paricharo brihadrada mukhastataha kushamba matsya pratyagra chedipadyascha chedipaha. The son of Kriti was Uparichara Vasu, and among his sons, headed by Brihadrada, were Kushamba, Matsya, Pratyagra, and Chedipa. All the sons of Uparichara Vasu became rulers of the Chedi state. Who is from Chedi in Krishna's pastime? Shishupal, yes. Text 7. Brihadradat Kushagrobur Rishabhastasya Tatsutaha Jashne Satyahito Patyam Pushvavam Statsuto Jahuhu. From Brihadrada, Kushagra was born. From Kushagra, Rishabha. And from Rishabha, Satyahita. The son of Satyahita was Pushpavan, and the son of Pushpavan was Jahu. Text 8. Anyasyam abhibaryayam Shakale dvi brihadradat Ye matra bahir utsviste Jaraya cha visandite Jiva jiveti kridantya Jarasandho bhavatsutaha. Through the womb of another wife, Brihadrada begot 2 halves of a son. When the mother saw those 2 halves, she rejected them. But later a she-demon named Jara playfully joined them and said, "Come to life, come to life." Thus the son named Jarasandha was born. So when the child was in 2 halves, she was, panic, and she thought it's dead, and there was no life. So she threw it away. But the Yaksha, Jara is a Yaksha. So she saw that, and then she joined together, and then the son was alive. So she brought it back to the king. And then the king was very pleased with the Yaksha for bringing back and making his son whole. And he said, because you joined, the child's name will be Jarasandha. Sometimes I think the word Jarasandha is like the English word Ja-asanda, Ajasandha, that means you can remove it, open it. So that's how you kill him actually. Text 9. Tatascha sahadevo bud Soma pirya chuttashravaha Varikshir anapatyo bud Surato nama janavaha. From Jarasandha came a son named Sahadeva. From Sahadeva, Somapi. And from Somapi, Shrutashrava. The son of Kuru called Parikshi had no sons, but the son of Kuru called Janu had a son named Surata. Text 10. Tato viduratastasma sarvabhoma sato bhavat jayasena stattanayo radhikoto yuthavubat. From Surata came a son named Vidurata, from whom Sarvabhauma was born. From Sarvabhauma came Jayasena, from Jayasena Radhika, and from Radhika Ayutayu. Text 11. Tataschakroodanastasmat Devatitiramusya cha Rikshastasya dilipo bud Pratipastasya chatmaja. Translation: from Ayutayu came a son named Akrodana, and his son was Devatiti. The son of Devatiti was Riksha. The son of Riksha was Dilipa, and the son of Dilipa was Pratipa. Text 12 and 13. Devapi santanastasya balika iti chatmajaha pitriragyam parityajya devapi stuvanam gataha abhavachantanuraja Pran Mahabhisha Samnitaha Yam Yam Karabhyam Sprishati Jirnam Yovanam Yeti Saha. The sons of Pratipa were Devapi, Shantanu, and Balika. Devapi left the kingdom of his father and went to the forest, and therefore Shantanu became the king. Shantanu, who in his previous birth was known as Mahabhisha, had the ability to transform anyone from old age to youth simply by touching that person with his hands. So in his kingdom, King Shantanu, nobody was sick. If anyone was sick, they had to go and see the king. He simply touched them and they'll... So you must imagine he's very powerful though, to have such a potency, you know. Not an ordinary person, Shantanu. Obviously, he falls in love with Ganga and it creates another story. A part of Mahabharata, actually. Text 14 and 15. Shantim apnoti chaivargyam karmana tena shantanu samadvadasha tadrajye navavarsha yada vibhuhu Shantanur brahmanairukta parivettayam agrabhu rajyam dehi agrajayasu purarashtra vivridayai. Because the king was able to make everyone happy for sense gratification, primarily by the touch of his hand, his name was Shantanu. Once, when there was no rainfall in the kingdom for 12 years, and the king consulted his learned Brahminical advisors, they said, "You are faulty for enjoying the property of your elder brother. For the elevation of your kingdom and home, you should return the kingdom to him." So for kings, you know, you cannot, actually this is something you should know. You should not take anyone else's property. Yeah, you can see you will get bad reaction. Even if you take small thing also, still there will be some reaction. Either your parents find out and give you nicely, or you'll get something down there. Something bad will happen, inauspicious. Yeah. Text 16 and 17. Evam muktva dvijayajyastam chandayamaso so bravit tanmantri prahitair viprair vedad vipram shito gira vedavadati vadan vai dadevo vavarshah Devapi yogamastaya kalapa gramam ashritaha. When the Brahmana said this, Maharaj Shantanu went to the forest and requested his elder brother Devapi to take charge of the kingdom, for it is the duty of a king to maintain his subjects. Previously, however, Shantanu's minister Ashvavara had instigated some Brahmanas to induce Devapi to transgress the injunctions of the Vedas and thus make himself unfit for the post of ruler. So you get the real story. The Brahmanas deviated Devapi from the path of the Vedic principles, and therefore, when asked by Shantanu, he did not agree to accept the post of ruler. On the contrary, he blasphemed the Vedic principles and therefore became fallen. Under the circumstances, Shantanu again became the king, and Indra, being pleased, showered rains. Devapi later took to the path of mystic yoga to control his mind and senses and went to the village named Kalapa Grama, where he is still living. All these personalities are going to come out and create havoc. No, they will create the next generation. During yeah, I can't remember.
Some place it was.
It's a different person, right? No, it's the same person.
Different person.
Different person.
Different person.
Maybe.
Some seems to be very famous.
Well, yeah. Maybe all the rishis are hiding there. Actually, it's not like they are hiding. We can't see them.
King Maru and Devapi are there.
Yeah, Maru is there. Devapiya, that's right. Maru and Devapiya. Yeah, and then Parasuram is in Mahendra Hills, still there. Yeah, they're all waiting for Kali Yuga to end, all waiting for us to get out. You know. We are causing so much problem, they cannot come out. Thanks.
Yeah, Maru stage.
Yes, Maru. Yeah. Now you can see how even though the Brahmanas are supposed to guide the Kshatriyas properly, here you can see the Brahmana, he told lies to Devapi, and then Devapi went against the Vedic scripture. And because he blasphemed the Vedic scripture in front of Shantanu and the others, he became fallen. So therefore, he became disqualified from taking the post of king. And therefore, Shantu decided that he will continue to rule. So when this thing became corrected, then the Devatas were pleased, and then the rains came. Otherwise, if there's something the king is doing wrong, the demigods will withdraw giving rains. That's why when we don't do proper Sankirtan, the whole world is now suffering from climate change. They call it climate change. But because we are not doing the Sankirtan Yagna properly. Text 18 and 19, yeah. Somavamse kalo naste Ritadao stapayishyati Balika somadatto bud Buri buri shravastataha Shalascha santanorasi Gangayam Bhishma Atmavan Sarvadharma Vidam Shreshto Mahabhagavata Kavi. After the dynasty of the moon god comes to an end in this age of Kali, Devapi in the beginning of the next Satya Yuga will re-establish the Soma dynasty in this world. From Bahlika, the brother of Shantanu, came a son named Somadatta, who had three sons named Buri, Burishrava, and Shala. From Shantanu, through the womb of his wife named Ganga, came Bhishma, the exalted, self-realized devotee and learned scholar. His other name is Devavrata. Text 20. Virayutagraniyena Ramopi Yudhitoshitaha Shantano Dasa Kanyayam Yashne Chitrangada Sutaha. Bhishma Dev was the foremost of all warriors. When he defeated Lord Parashurama in a fight, Lord Parashurama was very satisfied with him. By the semen of Shantanu in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, Chitrangada took birth. Purport. Satyavati was actually the daughter of Upari Charavasu by the womb of a fisherwoman known as Matsya Garbha. Later, Satyavati was raised by a fisherman. The fight between Parashurama and Bhishma Dev concerns three daughters of Kashi Raja. Now, all these are in the Mahabharata. Ambika, Ambalika, and Amba, who were forcibly abducted by Bhishma Deva, acting on behalf of his brother Vichitra Virya. Amba thought that Bhishma Deva would marry her and became attached to him. But Bhishma Deva refused to marry her, for he had taken the vow of brahmacharya. Amba therefore approached Bhishma Deva's military spiritual master Parashurama, who instructed Bhishma to marry her. Bhishma Deva refused, and therefore Parashurama fought with him to force him to accept the marriage. But Parashurama was defeated and he was pleased with Bhishma. Obviously, there's some variations of this story, but in essence, it is the same. Okay, like I have read, Satyavati was a twin sister of the king's daughter. Actually, what happens is the king had two children, and a demon kidnapped, and then and was flying away, and they shot arrows or what, and then they dropped the babies, and a fish swallowed, something like that. And then later on, a fisherman catches, and he cuts the fish, and the two babies are still alive there. And so he brings the child to the king, and the king takes the son and then gives the daughter to the fisherman. But then this girl also had a funny smell, fish smell. So later on, Parasara Muni impregnates her with Vyasadeva, and then he gives her a bone, and she smells like a lotus flower. So then when Santanu comes, because Ganga lives in, after the children are born, and he's madly in love of Ganga, and he's wandering, and then he smells this fragrance. That's why women put perfume. So then he looks, and then he gets attracted to her. And then the fisherman and the king bargain, and then he says, you already have a son, Devavrata, and his sons will compete with my daughter's sons, and he might kill them. Then Santanu says, no, my son Devavrata will be the king, and then he goes back. But he becomes unhappy. So then the son is very intelligent, and so he decides there's something wrong. So he asks his father, the father won't say anything. Then he realized I must ask the charioteer. He knows, he took him there. So then the charioteer, he divulges what happened, and Devavrata then takes the chariot and goes back to the fishing village. And there he approaches the father of Satyavati, the fisherman, head of the fishermen. And so in the discussion, he says the same thing. Then Devavrata said, I take a vow, I will not marry. And then he says, okay, what about you might still conquer and take over the kingdom? He says, I promise I'll never, but instead I'll protect whoever sits on the throne. Yeah. So then when the fisherman was happy, he says, now you can take my daughter. Your father can marry. So then he takes him, and then he tells his father, I have a gift, and then he shows Satyavati. Now, when he makes a vow of never having a child, the entire clouds starts making noise. And that's when the sound Bhishma, 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 the sound is there. So then in the kingdom, everyone hears that sound. So when he comes home, then his father realizes what his son has done. He's shocked, and he says, why did you do this? And then he says, I want you to be happy. So then he gives him the boon, blessing. Santanu is so powerful, he blesses him. You will not die. You will die only when you want to die. So which is why later on during the war, when the Pandavas asking, he say, you can't kill me, but you can make me incapacitated, and then I will give up my body, because the only person I'll refuse to fight is Shikandi. So he said, you put Shikandi in front of you, Arjuna, and then I will not raise my arrows, and then you can shoot me. So that is the whole idea here. Of course, Amba, another part of this in Mahabharata, Amba is actually in love with no,
earlier somebody
Salya. Okay, Salya. So Salya was defeated by Bhishma in the battle. And so he took all the three girls away, sisters away. So then Amba told Bhishma, I already gave my heart to Salya, so I can't marry. And Bhishma said, yeah, okay, fine. So then he sent her back in a chariot. So then she comes to Salya and says, I'm going to marry you. Then he says, no, I won't marry you because I was defeated. And if I accept you now, people will laugh at me. Also, you went to someone else's home and I don't accept you anymore. So she got very unhappy. So she came back to Bhishma and said, he won't marry me since you won me and I feel that you are capable of taking me as your wife. So why don't you marry me? And then this problem starts, and then she gets angry and angrier and really angry. So finally, she finds two brahmanas who will do this sacrifice, brothers. One of them said, you cannot do this sacrifice to do harm to another person. So he refused to do. But his other brothers said, yes, I will do. But then I'm not so expert, but my younger brother is more expert. So she went and served, and finally the brother said, okay, I will do it. So the two brothers did this yagna for Lord Shiva. And Shiva comes and says, what do you want? And Amba says, I want him to be killed, Bhishma. So then Shiva says, yes, he will be killed, but not in this life. Not in this life. You have to die and take birth again, and then you will kill. Then she was so angry. She said, no. And she jumped into the same sacrificial fire and gave up her life. And then she takes birth as a son in Draupada's home, as King Draupada's home. So she's a son until a certain age, and then she changes into a female later on. Some parts they say she approached a yaksha, and then the yaksha transformed her into a eunuch or something like that. Anyway, that's a sidebar. So we'll come back. Text 21 to 24. No, we'll take a break. I need a break. We'll start at 12. Huh?
We're talking Radhika Pradesh.
Radhe Devi. Yeah.